for the month of September. I will allow Melissa to take our role and establish a quorum for us.
Bless you.
Thank you. Over there.
Okay, Adam. Dominique. Here. Carrie.
Here.
Kyle.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
Francis.
Great.
Sarah. She's coming. Michael.
Here.
Max.
Here.
Beiju.
Here. Beiju.
Heidi. Here. Heather.
Here.
Lachlan. We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. So we will first move to approval of the agenda for this meeting. It was circulated in advance. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to the agenda prior to our approval? Okay, then I will move to adopt the agenda as presented for the September 11, 2024 meeting.
Second.
All right, all who approve say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes and the agenda is approved. We will move now to the approval of the minutes from our August 14th, 2024 meeting. Those were circulated in advance. Thank you to Beiju for stepping in and being our secretary of the month. So that is much appreciated. Are there any questions or comments or revisions for those minutes? Okay. Then I will move that we adopt the minutes for the August 14th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Second.
All right, all who approve say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose say nay. Any extensions? Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to the reports. I'll start with the chairperson's report, which will be quite brief. I do want to thank Jessica, who was kind enough to volunteer her time for our LSC retreat. It was really a very well-run event, and I think we got a lot out of it. So also appreciate those who were able to make it. I'm sorry, some people were not. That's scheduling happens. I know, people wish they could have been there, but I think for those of us who attended, we got a lot out of it. We're going to talk about some of the work product that came out of it. It wasn't business per se, but it was something that we put together as a draft vision statement for this organization to help us move forward and guide us over the next couple of years. So we will talk to that when we get to new business. But I thought it was really nice to get to know some of you all a little bit better. I think, the parent reps that started to kind of get to know each other, but I think we got to know kind of everybody else a little bit better too. So I think that was really nice, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going and moving forward. So just thank you to Jessica for helping us out with that. I also want to make a push for homecoming volunteers. I don't know if we'll might be mentioning that, but I know there's many volunteers that are needed to make
Yes,
this
and
one.
please and thank you.
Yes, so come on out. I know my wife is planning to come out and work code check room, so I know there's lots of positions. So don't feel like we can't be used again. Also, a quick thank you to our athletics booster. They ran a successful first serve event, and I look forward to more successful events from them moving forward. And FOJ also had a great event to kick off their school year. And we will have a representative from FOJ here in a bit, I believe, talking a little bit more about that, so I don't want to steal the thunder. So I will shift now over to Principal Dolan for Principal's report.
All right. Hello, everybody. Our year-to-date attendance as of the 6th, so last week, was sitting at 96.87%. Our data is looking pretty good in dashboard. A lot of our attendance is really cleaned up, which is good. We're still working on entering pre-introduced lunch forms and health forms, which is like a big compliance piece at the beginning of the year that takes a lot of time. Our enrollment is currently sitting at 1,938 students. In terms of faculty and staff updates, Marge retired, and so we're currently interviewing for her position for the security team. We do have a teacher, Ms. Stern, who's going to be going on a brief leave. We do have her TAT position posted. She'll be back pretty soon. And then we have, actually this has been shifted since I wrote this, one SICA onboarding, one who has since started, and one who is interviewing. And then I'm also currently interviewing for a school assistant position, which will support the counseling department, and Ms. Olga will go into our 504 testimony. Upcoming events, just to put on people's radars, the club fair and curriculum night will both be held on September 25th. Everyone knows homecoming is the 20th, and open house will be the 19th. All of our fall sports are up and running smoothly. Sam already mentioned the first serve event, which I heard was wildly successful. AP Dixon attended to represent the admin team as the AP over athletics, and said it was really nice. Other updates. Our new cell phone policy is now in place. Despite my own anxiety around it, it seems like it's going really smoothly. We really haven't had a lot of pushback, and maybe the students can speak to this, but I think that even the students maybe feel a little bit more focused in class without the distraction of their phones. And teachers have by and large been responding really positively to the change. The new Act Lab Swipe policy is in place. We've had some hiccups, but it is mostly going smoothly, and we're continuing to collect feedback and collaborate on ways that we can continue to make improvements. Overall, the Act Lab spaces are being well managed. People have been kind of reaching out when there are issues, and so we're able to be responsive in that way. High school fairs start this week. In fact, AP Dixon is, well, no, she's left by now, but she's went to our first high school fair today at Bernard Zell. And we have a few a week that we're going to be rotating through probably until December. Free and reduced lunch forms are being entered. Open campus will start September 30th. Forms for open campus are due September 20th. If a student does not get their form in by September 20th, they will not be eligible to go off campus until November 1st. So please make sure that if you intend to go off campus, you turn in your forms on time. Schedule changes are now complete. PSAT is scheduled for October 22nd. That is a C day for students. And we're currently identifying how we want juniors to experience the other half of their day that's not PSAT. The AB schedule has been shifted and is complete and accurate through the end of semester 1. All of the changes have been approved through Aspen configuration and are now made in the system. The AB calendar is also now posted alongside school-wide events on the school's website. The assessment plan was re-voted on. We will not have PSAT 910 for the fall. That's the most significant change to occur. But we also had to vote to approve implementing ACT in the spring, given that it's the new mandated assessment. We've partnered with Leadership Edge once again to bring in music therapy for our cluster students, which I was able to bring in last year, and we were able to continue that support through ESY with Ms. Monaco. Homecoming is coming up. We've changed September 20th, which is that Friday, to an early release D-Day so that students can get ready. The schedule was released to staff today, and students will receive next week's schedule by the end of the week. You guys have the AB days, we just don't have the breakdown of the days. We were refused nursing support for homecoming by the Office of Student Health and Wellness. We were effectively told that it's a liability concern, which seems silly to me because it seems like a bigger liability concern to have people without medical backgrounds making those determinations, but who am I? I didn't go to medical school. ILT has started. The PBL, which is the proficiency-based learning team, has started. We met for the first time yesterday, and the SEED team started last week. And I'm very excited that it looks like we're going to be doubling our SEED team by the next meeting. We've signed the graduation contract. We're just waiting on real estate to confirm. I've also initiated vendor reactivation for our prom venue, and now we're just kind of playing a waiting game with them to be approved. Still waiting on our internal accounts to be available, or not internal accounts, central accounts. This is actually updated. We redid parking and recouped some of our funds from staff who didn't pay for parking last year. We've been visited by the network chief and the chief of high schools, and that walk went really well. We do have some more network walks coming up. I'm currently awaiting the results of a DL appeal for another teacher position. Right now I'm currently paying money out of our budget to pay for an overtime for a teacher so that we can have a class covered that needs to be covered. The Friends of Jones event was a wonderful success. There was lots of engagement. I won't go into details because it sounds like someone will be here to talk about it. We're going to begin a student and staff of the month soon, so the school celebrations team will be meeting in a couple weeks. Morning announcements have begun, including student birthday shout-outs. I really think that the morning announcements, as well as us starting to play music during entry again, has really started to set a really warm, positive tone every day. Our newsletter was revamped. It's now easier to read and navigate. We're working on planning professional development for September 27th for the staff focused on learning goals, assessment, and equity. We will also be hosting Jones Jam Junior that day, which is like Jones Jam, but for elementary kiddos who want to learn coding. I have mocked up preliminary budgets with Troy and shared them with department chairs. And very lastly, Club Fair and Curriculum Night will both be held on September 25th. I'm working on the schedule and plan, which will be shared out with parents in the coming week or so.
I did have a question on open lunch. Just for my knowledge, how many students take advantage of open campus and actually go open for lunch?
A lot, but I don't have an exact answer for you.
But many.
I would say probably a little more than half the students in the class that's on by that too.
Students probably know, but.
Yeah. Poor security probably knows the best.
Yeah. Scanning everything
Yeah.
out, yeah, I'm sure. And I do, for what's worth, I do like the newsletter. That's like information, so that's good.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Go ahead, Mike.
For the open house, that's October 9th, correct?
Yes.
Other questions? Comments? You're off the hook easy then. We'll move on to FOJ, I think is not due yet. Unless you give an FOJ report, no?
Staff report. We're going to split it up. So I've got a deep dive for you today on morning announcements. So when those started a couple of weeks ago, staff had a big reaction. We had a lot of complaints from staff about the, not so much the content of the announcements, but the timing of the announcements, because they were kind of coming on at 8 a.m. and running from 8 to 8:05 or so, and that's the middle of first and fifth period. And each period is 90 minutes. First and fifth aren't like proportionally longer. So the teachers, reached out to us, like a number of teachers reached out to us and said, this, like, we're really concerned about the impact on instructional minutes for those periods compared to like every period that's not first and fifth. And so just to start out, the announcements are fun. They're engaging. I've talked to a lot of students, about them. They usually have like a very exciting "Good Morning Eagles." They have reminders about things like the ID raffle, reminders about imminent events like homecoming tickets or tonight's volleyball game, a list of Eagle birthdays, and they end with a point of positivity, which is like a motivational quote of some kind. So just talking to teachers, like some of their concerns were the instructional minutes we've talked about, that even if they're short, when you do the math of like 80 classes times like 3 minutes, 80 over the year, 80 classes times 3 minutes is like actually multiple class periods that first and fifth might potentially lose. So a lot of people are kind of concerned about that.
Question on that question. So are the same announcements twice a day, every day? It's first class.
So yeah.
So every day we do announcements, and then on Monday it's class one.
When he says fifth period, that's the first period. So when he says fifth period, that means it's the first period of 3 days. So it's just every morning.
Got it. So it happens at 8 a.m. every day.
Right, yeah.
It's just that sometimes it's first period, sometimes it's fifth period.
Yeah.
And then it's not second, third, seventh. So like some teachers get more minutes than other teachers. But if you're in,
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, that's all right. The schedule is hard.
I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a 12:37, sometimes it's 11:02.
Oh yeah.
We're not playing announcement roulette.
Right.
Uh,
Just like,
The answers are at 8:15 on Tuesday.
They're at 8 o'clock. So yeah, school starts 8 a.m. Bell rings. Announcements begin like after bell rings. Yeah, no, that's fair. So I don't know, teachers, I think, and I'm just kind of like other reasons teachers were upset is like, it was kind of a last minute change. So like, we kind of planned our class routines and then this came in like sort of at the end. And so that was difficult. And I also think some staff, I don't know, that reached out were like, I think it's not so much the announcements, but they're concerned still about students being tardy and how that's is like a big problem in class sometimes. Is we'll come in and depending on the class and the level, you might have half your kids there at 8 and they slowly trickle in from like 8 to 8:20. That makes it really hard to start class. So I think folks maybe saw that as the announcements as not necessarily like solving the pressing issue that they found. But anyway, what we did a survey of the staff because that's what PPLC does. We do staff surveys, so I have some data for you. So I don't know that I made 12 copies, but I made enough to like take one and pass for at least pairs. And we just asked like staff, like, what do you think about the announcements? So this was staff, not students. We had 36 teachers and 1 staff member. And it was basically split. 20-30% said, we love these, please keep them up. We don't mind that it impacts our instruction. Other percent said, we love them, but they'd not prefer them not during instructional time, or that they don't mind them. And then another basically 30% said, like, just stop. Like, we don't like this impact on our classes. It's too much. So that feels like something that we want to solve as a problem, or at least like come to some way where teachers can be happy with class time and we can have the school culture, because there really is some like positive school culture that's coming from these, like Ms. Dolan shared. So like I talked to my students today also because I always like to ask them what's up, and they said the announcements are cute, fun, playful. The energy is like great. They called it elementary school core, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's elementary school.
Yeah, so the kids loved it. They were a little less sure about the birthdays. They were like, that was like 50-50. Kids were like, we love this is super cute. And then like my other students were like, maybe no. So that was like a weird place. And then some of the students also said, like, even those that loved it said, these can get a little long. Like I would like them to get straight to the point. So back in the survey, we kind of looked at, we proposed some alternatives, like some options. And so one of them was rearrange the bell schedule to like add 5 minutes to first period. And that was, nobody liked that one. So I'd recommend we not do that, at least this year, maybe next year. I think that's a long term. Some staff had proposed moving it to like 7:55, like hey, before the bell, you do these things. According to the survey, a lot of staff didn't like that. So I'd say that's probably not an option to do. More people were interested in just let's make sure they're really short. Like, just kind of like my students said, like, keep them short, keep them to the point. Because I mean, if we can go from losing 5 minutes in the day, some of them got really long, to like a couple, 1 minute, 2 minutes, I think that's a lot more manageable for folks.
We have tried to be really responsive.
You've done an
in
awesome
terms
job.
of getting people on and getting them off
Yeah.
since that meeting.
Oh yes, the change has been noticeable and we appreciate it. Just like continue with that. And then the one suggestion was like merge them with the B-Day announcements, and I put that on there because it's like super split of, hey, people don't want to lose them, and other people are like, well, we do also have announcements at the end of every B-Day, so it's kind of like, what is the role of each of those? So my recommendations on announcements to kind of summarize, keep them short, keep them quick, keep them high energy because the kids love them and they're fun, and keep them at 8 a.m. Some folks suggested we have like TVs in the cafeteria, TVs in the lobbies. We've bought TVs for the cafeteria yet. I think they're not out there yet, but like we spent a lot of money on it, so we should put them there. And maybe the B-Day announcements also. I know there's some like in progress work with like video announcements. Maybe that would be a venue for some of the stuff, maybe like birthdays that's taking like more class time. And then the morning is just kind of a like very short like hype, let's greet you and stuff like that. Maybe check with kids, like survey the student body about birthdays. I'm kind of like looking at my students here. So I mean, if students love it, like sure, cool, but I don't know, I'm not a kid anymore. And then my last 2 recs were kind of for Ms. Dolan. Like, I'll share with you the whole survey results, but like staff are super divided on this, and I feel like there's just some like leadership work or like coalition building that we could all do to come together. And also, I think staff would really appreciate continued work on targets and getting kids to class on time. Yeah.
Were there not announcements before?
They happened only on the end of every B day.
So every other.
Every other day at the end was the announcement block, because the kids during that time, there was like a check-in.
Got it.
So it didn't cut into instructional time at that point.
Got it, 'cause it was during our class.
Yeah, it was during ACT. That was right at the end.
And now it's 5 days a week and you can.
Yeah.
I think that's like that's a kind of high school starts.
To touch on one thing Mr. Eck was saying about parties, I know especially for first and fifth period, the security line has been, I think, the worst I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
I'm saying today the lines were better because the machine was back up.
Okay.
Today was the first day the machine was back up. We've been operating with 3 machines instead of 4 at the front. And we've been calling the tech in repeatedly from safety and security. He'd been out about 4 times over the past week and a half while I'm like freaking out via email because our kids are out the door trying to get in. And this morning he fixed it. And so we visibly saw like mitigated traffic coming into the building this morning.
Never mind.
I wasn't trying to steal your thunder, I'm so sorry.
No, that's just a current concern some students have.
Yeah.
Is that
And it's 4 now.
Is even getting through.
I'm sorry, it's 4 now.
I mean, 4 is what we got, so 4 is what we're operating with. I think typically speaking, when 4 are all functional, it's an appropriate number to get students in the building in a reasonable amount of time. With only 3 functioning the last week and a half, we've had kids like crowding out the main door, trying to get in and being stuck because there's only the 3 lines. But responsive to staff concerns about tardies, I think that should also help staff. I don't know if people noticed anything today specifically or people weren't really cognizant, but
Yeah,
like.
it's hard to tell day to day. It's just more
But-
kind of like an average feeling.
But I think like maybe gauge over the next week or so and see whether you guys see some improvements because it has like by 8 o'clock, that line was clear.
Yeah.
Is there tardy data that we could maybe be shared on next month? Like kind of, I'm thinking like year to year. Because I remember Frank talking last year about the impact he was having in your first period of class last year when kids were just rolling in so late.
I'm honestly not sure about historical year-to-year data, but I could definitely talk to AP Dixon and Ms. Brown to pull some data for this year, but I don't know how helpful that would be if you're trying to do a comparison.
Even if, it should not be a huge project, so it's not, just pulling this year's would be fine.
This year's, I mean, just one reason this year's might be different is part of the new discipline policy is that teachers are encouraged to mark students tardy, and that's like the way that we report those tardies. So that would probably be higher than before, but it would hopefully be like a more honest number. Because like before, people were just maybe not marking it because nothing was happening.
Yeah, that, I would be interested too, like, and I really appreciate this is really great that we have this data in front of us, but it sounds like this is a really big concern for teachers, so maybe even teachers reporting out on how they feel this compared relative to previous years. Especially another month in where we'll be well past the 3 versus 4 machines at the front issue, so.
Yeah, we could do a survey on, after some time has come in and do kind of a staff survey on tardy feelings. Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
More on tardy, I just have one thing. This doesn't really affect first and fifth period as much, kids during the middle of the day, but during passing periods, the congestion in the north cafeteria, especially on the ramp, is pretty bad, which is causing tardiness, especially if you're crossing buildings. Last year, at least for the warm months, we had the ability to go through the gate outside and then come into the lobby, which definitely
That was shut
sped up
down
the
by
process.
the chief of safety and security.
Okay, so we couldn't do that again.
That was a decision that was made above my head before my arrival.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But something does need to be done.
Well, so that's why I want us to build a bridge. So if any of you know anyone in CPS Capital or at the city level who'd be willing to help fund a multi-million-dollar project to connect the 2 buildings, holler.
Is there any way to like flip it? I don't know, if you do like one-way traffic or something?
My understanding is, yeah, that's kind of how it's like, you come through the south and then, I'm never down there, but from what I've seen of
The
the way
ramp is cut in half.
It is.
they cut it in half,
Oh, okay.
and then one side comes from the south on the first floor, and the second floor comes over and then takes the stairs up, so that they're kind of not trying to push past each
There's
other.
a barrier, there's a physical
I wonder if there is I was just thinking about that ramp. It's very narrow.
It's very narrow.
And I wonder if there is a way, without building a bridge, that we could modify the space somehow. Maybe we could, like, cut some of the guardrails down, or like, we could get some stairs, or something, or like,
It's like 2 doors.
Find more-
The ramp is narrow. I'm not sure that extending the ramp would be helpful when the doors are still the same width as the ramp.
yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if you gotta funnel into the door,
Yeah,
then they'll.
but like, it does seem like we aren't gonna, if we're really can't just open the doors again, maybe there is a way, a smart way we could like rearrange the space.
I'm kind of wondering what's different, because I know pre-COVID, I'd have maybe 1 or 2 students from the 5th or 6th floor from the other building come in late, and now I'm getting 3rd and 4th floor students coming in late. So I'm not sure what is different now that,
I do feel that this does sometimes happen at the start of every year.
Yeah,
With freshmen not being able to
Oh.
walk. And but this is been bad.
well, you used to be one of them, so,
What?
you used to be one of them.
I did, yeah.
Is the link area something Building and Grounds Committee would be interested in looking at?
Not sure what can be done, but,
Yeah. Make the ramp
like you said, the
wider
doors.
than-
the
Can we
doors
add,
are
like,
already-
can we add a door? Can we bust out some windows, add some doors?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Lots of others. Yeah, and you can live. Unfortunately.
This is, my question's going back, sorry, to the question about the announcements. Could we do maybe like Mondays, first period, Tuesdays, fourth period, like that, so that all the teachers would get equal amount of time? So I don't know how hard that is to do, I was just asking the question. Sorry, I didn't know,
That sounds
I didn't
hard.
know, but it was just a question I asked, so.
No, I
Just a
appreciate you
theory.
elevating that question. I think in terms of like admin, making sure that the announcements happen, they almost have to be at the top of the day, otherwise
They won't
we
happen.
can't guarantee the consistency of them.
And how long are ACLAB announcements typically?
Couple minutes.
Okay, so they're also short
Yeah,
typically,
they're
okay.
nothing.
I was
They're,
sure.
they're a little longer. Those are the ones
Yeah,
where
tho-
like you
those
can
are more
submit your
like,
club
hey,
announcements
if you have
and
a club
stuff.
meeting,
Got it.
like,
Okay, just asking.
It might make sense to move those birthday announcements.
I think in terms of like easy things that we can address, we can definitely talk about the birthday part of the announcements and whether it makes sense to continue that or whether like each day we just want to say like happy birthday to our Eagles.
We could do, I mean, if we get the TVs running, we could run birthday names on a TV and also do happy birthday to Eagles.
Yeah.
It's like, there are kids that do, I mean, they said like, we like that shout out, and they're even like, maybe we should do people that have a birthday tomorrow, so we can like, get ready to congratulate them. Some
I
kids
love their
were
enthusiasm.
really into it, like more than I would ever have expected.
What year?
For some
Seniors.
Oh,
Yeah, I know,
I
like,
was
you'd think
thinking
they're
we were
cool.
gonna tell it to be freshmen or sophomores.
No, senior calculus.
I love that for them.
Yeah, one thing they used to do was, like, dress up their lockers, and I haven't seen that again since,
Oh, yeah. That was a
Probably
great
5
thing.
years,
That was a
yeah.
great tradition.
Oh, for the birthdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, pictures, stuff.
Oh, yeah, does nobody nobody uses their lockers anymore?
Well, that's
Well,
part
it's
of
up on the
it.
6th floor.
Yeah.
So next part,
Oh, yeah, we have more staff
we have
report.
more.
Sorry.
For ACLAB, there has been some, so there are these social spaces that members of the faculty have to supervise, and it pulls us away from having ACLAB time for students to come, that we can help tutor through problems. So there has been some concern about that. Also, supervising large groups. If it was suggested possibly, instead of having these large social spaces, just having rooms, smaller rooms where I have 20, 30 students in front of me instead of 100 that I can supervise, so it's much more controlled, so that, those are a couple concerns that were raised. what else was there? The 504 testing room, it sounds like that may be up and running soon, no.
I thought you were saying, I thought it might be up and running. It's not up and running
Oh,
yet,
soon,
but
yeah.
I'm in the process of interviewing for that position.
Okay.
For the position that will allow Olga to go over there.
Right, okay, so that's one thing. The revised AB schedule, when we had our meeting last week, it has come out since then. And then I think the last one was the ACES program. Some of the faculty expressed concern because it's being diminished from what it used to be. And so we'd like to keep, and Principal Dolan also said, efforts to keep it running is favorable. So,
Yes, please tell
yeah,
us.
can somebody else explain that?
I'm sorry.
The-
ACES program.
Oh, ACES.
So ACES is a program that saw content teachers in the elective, so PE, dance, music, art, partner with a DL co-teacher, and then host a class that is largely instructionally intended for students in our cluster program, that they then partner with students in our Gen Ed program who sign up to the class to be mentors. So the program really is not only a way for students in our cluster program to access electives curriculum in a way that's meaningful for them, but also provides leadership opportunities for students in our general education program to work with students who have more needs for support when they're learning. The reason that was pulled was because the way that students in our cluster programs IEPs are written, they are required to be in a general education elective course, which does not allow for the provision of a DL teacher, which sort of breaks apart the entire structure of what we were offering. Now, I truly believe that ACES is a model that should be replicated across the district when we think about inclusion and what inclusion really looks like, because the actual model based on students' IEPs often places students with pretty severe needs for support in a general education class, which leads them either to operate within a small group that is typically pretty homogeneous, or to be pulled out for additional support or instruction, which then negates the point of inclusion. So the ACES dissolution was not something that happened at our hands. It's also really not something that's within our power to appeal at this point. But we are in the process of appealing for a DL position because we actually are short 4 sections of courses.
So they dissolved some classes of
It's not that they dissolved the classes, what they did was they pulled the positions that were being funded for the DL teachers in those classes.
So I think, am I correct in that more of like the cluster students they're still in classes, but it's more of like a general education class and.
Correct, with supportive paras.
Yeah, with para support, but like the other students in that class didn't
Necessarily
sign up for it, they, ahead of time. Would be a giant ask, you said it's because of how the IEPs are written, can we rewrite the IEPs?
So in theory, we could, however, once again, every single other school, everywhere, pushes cluster students into general education classes because students' LRE for those classes is Gen Ed.
Yeah.
So to rewrite a student's IEP to reflect a non-Gen Ed placement, when everywhere else students with those same level of disabilities are in Gen Ed, would then be considered to be violating their educational rights. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks Law.
So that's it, that's what we have.
All right, thank you both, that was super helpful. Anything else, any other questions for the teachers? If not, we'll move to the student board.
So I just have 2 things I wanted to touch up on. One was the suggestion we already talked about that. The other thing is this only pertains to students who use their personal computers at school. But last year, most of the time, because we can't connect to the school's Wi-Fi, students would use their iPhone hotspot if they wanted to connect their computer to the internet. But this year, since most teachers are asking us that we put our phones in the, I guess, the phone caddies. Kids aren't able to use their personal computers, so some kids are hoping that either they'll be granted access to join the school Wi-Fi, or there can be some sort of special exception for kids to use their phone if they're just going to use it for the hotspot and not be distracted.
That's a CPS policy, that students aren't allowed to use personal computers.
Okay.
Is it possible just to connect to your hotspot and then put the phone away?
Or use your Chromebook that you were issued by the school, because you're not supposed to be using a laptop from home.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that.
Why do some kids not like to use it?
I just think it's preference, yeah.
But if you, I know I use my hotspot all the time, I use it here, I connect, I put my phone away, and touch it.
Right. I just, maybe it's, I'm not
Does that mean-
sure how it works, and maybe it's the range, because if you're sitting the furthest part of the tent, it might not work. Yeah,
I do it all the time too.
okay.
We
Is that
even have
meetings or-
rental Chromebooks if you forget your Chromebooks, so use the CPS Chromebooks. I know they are not wonderful. I usually have to go like this to hear meetings, so I empathize. But please use the CPS tech.
That's all I have, but, you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to like the teacher concern about like the announcements, like personally from like a student perspective, so far I haven't seen like the announcements like distract or like take away from the learning, because usually they're just like 1 or 3 minutes long, and I feel like it's like it made like the school environment better, and like it like bring the school spirit back, and all my teachers have said they liked it and like they enjoy like you know, the announcements. Yeah, I think maybe like the birthdays could be cut off because it could be long, and you won't really know all the students, so like the names kind of just thrown out there. So yeah.
Then I actually have quite a few bits to talk about that students have addressed numerous concerns over. The first does not actually come from many students, but it actually came from our art teachers. And that is the lack of funding to our arts program currently. I think it might be because our accounts aren't available to October, but currently the art teachers have expressed many concerns to students about the lack of funding for our arts program. I believe it was some $2,000 for.
And they're missing like supplies that they need to order.
They can't order any because they can order it, but they have expressed that they have lack of money for the students that they have.
My art teacher said it's around like 50 cents per I'm not
per
sure about
student.
the accuracy of that, but that's what my
I didn't
teacher was
run the
saying.
math, but
Yeah,
my
that's what
teacher
teacher
had
said.
also said that average, the money that they got ends up going down to 50 cents per student, either per project or per year. But 50 cents is not.
So I think that that's based on the fact that last year we issued, so I'll be super transparent since our teachers are airing their grievances over budgets with their students. Last year, all of the departments were issued $3,000 for supplies, which was the first time the departments had been issued actual budgets in years. All of the departments blew through those budgets pretty fast. And consistently submitted POs, sometimes without consulting their department chairs, for often thousands of dollars in subscriptions, additional orders, not fundraisers, field trips, busing. We gave one department the $3,000 and they came back afterwards and asked for additional office chairs for their office. I granted every single one of those requests. At the end of last year, I told them, in order to make sure that I am saving all of these positions, I have to cut these department budgets. They went from $3,000 to $1,500 for this year, with the understanding that I gave the departments an additional $3,000 last year in spending. So every department had $6,000 to spend last year. Department spent all that money, and then came back, and a lot of people were in this state of panic over the budgets that have been communicated multiple times before coming into this year. So yesterday, I sat down with Troy and I hammered out budgets for every single department that are far more comprehensive than the $1,500 or $3,000 that we originally allocated. We considered subscriptions that departments have requested repeatedly. We considered tech needs in some departments versus text needs in others versus musical instrument needs versus. I have already received a number of still urgent concerns over these numbers, and we just allocated over $200,000 to the departments. So that probably was feedback you received before they received those budgets.
Probably.
But a lot of departments are still unhappy with the amount of money that they've been allocated.
Is that something where they could ask for grants from Friends of Jones?
They can still apply for grants from Friends of Jones, but part of the work that we do with them is trying to make sure that we're funding what we can at the school level too. Like, that's part of our commitment to Friends of Jones and to our staff, is to try to be responsive to what our staff needs. Friends of Jones largely operates to support funding that we either can't provide because of the costs or because somebody wants a contract with somebody who is not a CPS vendor, and we physically cannot do that.
I think you are right that for many years the budgets were just like in the air and it was weird, maybe. And so we've got a lot of complaints about the budget too. We kind of didn't talk about it, but it seems like a problem. And some stability, transparency sounds really important. Like, because you're saying people are spending crazy amounts of money, and I'm like, in the math department, we buy markers. We buy a lot of markers, and we did ask for those office chairs because, like, they had literally disappeared. Like, we had nowhere to sit. So, and
Where did they go?
they disappeared. Like, no, I mean, if I knew, I'd have them back. Like, they disappeared sometime during remote or after remote, and so we had nowhere to sit. So we couldn't use our office. That's why we asked for them. But like we never spend money. I mean, we buy $3,000 worth of markers every year, and that's about it. I'm like, people are spending $20,000 on what? Like, I do think like we need some transparency and like not necessarily equality between departments, because like I think fine arts probably deserves more money than because they need more physical supplies.
But I think part of this has also been an effort on at least my part with Troy to get departments to recognize how much they are spending and to maybe rein in some of that. Because
sure.
One department, for example, like I gave them their budget and they were like, can we decide whether we want to actually buy this $15,000 subscription or not? Oh, word, now you want to have a discussion about it. But before it was just, here.
Yeah.
So I just need people to be more conscientious of their spending, because I think for a long time, people were just able to get whatever they needed. They placed orders and stuff just blindly came without regard for where that funding was coming from. And ultimately, like, even if we fund, for example, like last year we funded a $33,000 lab for fine arts. That came out of our tech fund, but ultimately that money all still draws from our budget.
Well, I'm just glad that's a little more clear. On other notes, two other things are off that on a list are off-campus and scheduling requests. Off-campus is, for this year, what seems to me the latest it has ever started. Me personally, I don't know, it's fine. But a lot of students have addressed concerns to, I know, myself, I'm sure Max and Randy as well. But we've all heard concerns of off-campus. And I just think students would like a little more clarity as to why. I know it takes a while to do anything in CPS. So that I do understand. But I think one of the biggest parts is that in years past, especially for Max and myself, I will say, off-campus has started within 2 weeks of school starting. Ever since our sophomore year. Off-campus has started 2 weeks, and people have been out of the cafeteria, calming down the lunch lines. even allowing for every student to have lunch. I went to the lunch line last week and they actually had ran out of food. So I just think a little more clarification would be nice for off-campus and for schedule. South. And for, I haven't been to the North Cafeteria this year. And for the scheduling request, many students have addressed concerns over them. I know a lot of students did not get the classes they requested, and that's been a big issue between students and the counselors. I don't know too much other than students are unpleased, but that's those two things.
Just responsive to why off-campus is starting later, we only have like one person who's entering them. So that's part of it. We're technically down a clerk because now Ms. Torres is actually doing all of our testing and she's our grade coordinator. So we're down one person who would normally be assisting with that, and she normally actually does free introduced lunch forms, which I've had to offload onto another person. The additional piece of this is homecoming happened earlier this year, and guess who's selling the tickets to you guys? The clerks. So in order for us to make sure that you guys are getting everything that you need, we did have to push back off-campus commencement to a little bit later this year.
And that's good. I don't see it, I just think a little explanation goes along with it. Not saying, I know you explained to me, and that I'm happy about.
Feel free to disseminate.
I will. On a more deeper and personal note, I'm sure Mr. Slater, if you want to jump in at the end, feel free. It's about SGA. So, ticket sales began this week for homecoming. Ticket sales were limited to 225 per class. However, the only way to get a ticket was through a pre-sale system that was not very well informed. I will say Jones administration did send out an email about the pre-sale system, and I think someone in the administration had mentioned it was on the PA and over a text message. However, I have talked to other members of SGA, and it seemed like it had almost never happened. So I will say many people were left in the dark over the one email about the pre-sale. However, there are extra tickets to be sold on Monday, but these are only because of an uncertainty about how many tickets will be left over from the pre-sale system. These tickets would come on a first come, first served basis, leaving uncertainty to many seniors who are now trying to get tickets to their last homecoming. I do want to stress the importance of seniority in this case. This is our seniors' last homecoming, obviously. And especially I think it's important to stress prioritizing seniors because we have truly never had a normal homecoming. Freshman year we were split up between freshmen and sophomores, juniors and seniors. We were stuck in the cafeteria, but both our sophomore and junior year, which were normal in the gym, full school, were cut well short about an hour before scheduling ended. This is truly our last chance to provide seniors of a school not well known for its school spirit to have a more memorable experience. And I do strongly encourage our administration to prioritize our senior class in homecoming ticket sales on Monday, and provide a final chance for our seniors to have this last opportunity. Because honestly, we have been given the short end of the stick, and that's nobody's here's fault. Because there is just a whole new administration. But I do think it would be more fair to give seniors a little bit of priority in this last year. As well, in relation to homecomings, Homecoming Spirit Week has seen a very large change. A long-standing tradition of Eagle Games leading up to Homecoming Week has kind of been just pushed away almost. This has been a part of Jones history for as long as I can remember, which was 8 years ago when my sister had first come to Jones. Before then, I can't speak to that, but I do know it has been a tradition for a long time. Traditionally, this week of homecoming, we have every day hold a spirit event. This includes things like dodgeball, a student v. staff basketball game, pep rallies, and much more. In the past, Spirit Week and Eagle Games relied on a modified 8-day schedule where 8-day classes were shortened in order to create time for a spirit activity at the end of the day. However, this year, Jones students have a new form of Spirit Week that provides 2 opportunities for whole school spirit events. We are doing a soon-to-be staff basketball game, either you're interested.
There's 3.
I'm weak.
because
Whole
it's-
school.
I'm too old.
So we're all
Maybe
meeting
together.
pep rally.
Yeah, there you go. I got it.
Basketball game. pep rally.
Basketball game, pep
Oh,
rally,
no.
volleyball.
Snap.
Or vice versa.
What do you mean it's not whole school? Or dodgeball, I mean.
That should be during the C-Day period, right?
Yeah.
Then we'd have to break it up per class, right? Is
Yeah,
the classes, I was focusing more on.
Even the A-Day ones are broken up by class to a degree though, because we can't get everyone in the gym at the same time.
Yeah, that is how it's normally been. However, there is like truly only one whole school spirit activity, which I personally kind of have an issue with, but, no, it's whatever. But I think a lot of students are kind of sad to see it go. It has been a tradition for a very, Mr. Eck and Mr. Hashimoto can speak to it.
As long as we've been here,
As long as-
about 9
as I
years.
can
so,
remember.
yeah.
What is the activity that's not?
Well, we never planned one.
I think Eagle Games has been like a series of competitions, like on the different floors, like on the like a 3-legged race on the 5th floor, and I don't know
Hungry
what
hippo
else.
in the
Hungry
lobby.
hippo in the lobby, and
Tricycle race in the lobby.
and then folks will transition or do multiple things, and you can watch different groups. Yeah, and then the whole school can participate because it uses the whole space.
So like a field day. different
Sort of like an indoor field day for an hour.
And I will say, while students do have mixed opinions on this, it is just kind of sad to see a long-standing tradition kind of fading away. I have 2 other things, but those are all the concerns students have addressed.
Do you want me to respond to that at all?
If you-
So I met beforehand with members of SGA and Mr. Slater, and we talked through potential schedule mock-ups. We also received feedback from staff, and a lot of staff were really not liking the idea of having 2 modified A-days within the same week and losing that instructional time in their class when they weren't losing instructional time on the B-days that week. And so to strike a compromise between what the students wanted and what our staff wanted to see, we maintained the first A and B day as normal A and B days of homecoming week, added a C day in the middle of the week to allow for another spirit activity, modified the A day after that, and then made Friday responsive to student request an early release B day. So in order to make those changes, we had to compromise kind of on both sides. And just for clarity's sake, the students chose which spirit activities they wanted to do. That was not prescribed by staff. So the Eagle games, they opted to do the student versus staff game day, the dodgeball, and then the pep rally.
And with that, the dodgeball, that is like per class event, so it's not a whole school.
And SGA explaining that, those events. Versus.
Yes. Which I've been active participant in.
Yeah, that's true.
On other notes, prom has been going very well. I do want to thank administration for being very, very, very helpful with that. Recently, as Ms. Stolen had mentioned, putting forth our hopefully venue, which not going to say it yet, but maybe next month meeting. That should be finalized hopefully. As well, I will touch base on the phone policy. I think it actually has been going quite well, I think. I know students do have mixed opinions on it. I do kind of think that that it has been helpful. I do feel a little more focused in class. And does Max or want to touch on it?
Yeah, I feel like it's really good change,
Yeah.
and it really sets the environment so like all the students are focusing.
You guys will cry.
That's great.
But for those 2 things, I will say, pretty good. Phone policy has been definitely going well, and for that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, this is great. I really appreciate the students and all that you brought to the meeting. This is really helpful to hear your perspectives on these topics. I'm going to quickly touch on the bilingual advisory report is not one, but I did touch base with Mr. Sandoval, he reached out, and then Yvonne, who was the parent representative last year, also, I reached out to her, and Mr. Sandoval said there's nothing to report, and Yvonne said that there's going to be elections for representatives happening tomorrow. So there's movement on the BAC, but nothing to report beyond that. We'll move now to the FOJ report. Yvonne?
Hello, another Yvonne. Two of us. Hi, everyone. So for those who have not met, my name is Yvonne Loza. I am the chair for Friends of Jones this year. I think everybody knows what Friends of Jones is, but we're the parent guardian organization. We're all volunteer parents, and we are here to help Jones. We build community, we collect funds, distribute funds, as was mentioned earlier. And then we also help to coordinate all the volunteers for homecoming. Yay, everyone's looking for homecoming volunteers. We've been really busy. I thought since this is my first meeting since last year, I'd go over a little what we did over the summer. We hosted the new parents to a coffee chat over Freshman Connection, as well as doing a couple of Jonesware pop-ups for that week for the freshmen coming in. We did back-to-school teacher breakfasts and lunches, so I hope teachers appreciate that and welcome back to the school. Last Friday, we had a new parent meet and greet up in the terrace. Beautiful venue, beautiful night. We welcomed, we had 180 parents show up, so it's awesome. Yep, a lot of new parents, a lot of excitement, which we're really happy about. And then we invite everybody to Mondays. We have an ice cream social to kick off our annual fund. And this year, it's being called the Flying Eagles Annual Fund, appropriate for our students. And that is the #1 way we raise funds for Friends of Jones, and then we distribute back to grants. So we are having that as well as our community meeting on Monday, so I invite everybody to come to that. As I mentioned, we are looking for volunteers for homecoming, and we'll continue looking for volunteers throughout the year, depending on the school needs. What else last thing? Oh, and I want you to save the date, because we have booked Buddy Guys. It's an annual event we have. It's a fundraiser, great time for our jazz, our jazz band to go out and play at Buddy Guy Legends. So they get to play at a real club, which is a great night out, and it's going to be on October 30th. So after you save the date.
Last week, we were around after the show,
Buddy Guy show up. He showed up, yeah.
Yvonne, what are the hours for that again? So I'm gonna put it on the calendar right now.
5:30 to 8:30.
Thank you.
That's all.
Questions for Yvonne? Okay, thank you so much for that update. We're going to move forward with the budget report. We do have some items we need to go through. We will start with the budget transfer requests. Those are in the packet that I sent around, kind of towards the back a little bit, it's like the last page. So I list out all the different items that we are looking to approve as far as budget transfers. And the verifications are on the right. We got $150 transferring funds to bridge the gap between the active account and current order. We have $29,000 to transfer for match potential school assistant benefits. $60,000 for transfer for match potential school assistant salary and benefits. $452 for putting a negative balance for a benefits pointer. $4,000 opening the bucket for lifeguard. $16,000 transfer funds to cover buses for sports teams. While those 124 funds are unavailable, those are the funds that Mr. Bowen is referring to. They will open up in October, but in the meantime, we still need to send sports teams to places. And then $2,500 transfer funds to cover costs of our ACLAB scanners. So those are the items that we're looking for approval on. Are there any questions on those transfers?
What's the opening bucket for the light?
We have to open a bucket of money and transfer it over to pay for our lifeguard to cover our aquatics classes.
I thought like physical bucket, and I was like, that is a very expensive bucket.
Thank you for clarifying. It's CPS jargon.
Budget jargon.
Remember, I was the one who said never put the.
Yeah, I will, that makes sense. All right, so I will then make a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. We will move forward to an item that actually is not specifically listed out on the agenda, but we do need to approve a purchase, entering into a purchase agreement. This is with our vendor for the yearbook. This is not in the packet. We just got it right before the meeting. But the ask is to approve a spend of $49,160. That's for the 24-25 yearbook. The actual cost will be less than that once we factor in senior ads and things of that nature. But as we enter into the agreement, that is the upfront amount for the 24-25 yearbook. Questions about that one?
Sorry, can you repeat the amount?
$49,160. It is a lot of money. There are a lot of seniors. All right, I'll make a motion then to allow administration to enter into this yearbook purchase agreement for $49,160 for the 24-25 yearbook.
Second.
All right, you got a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes, and you shall have your vote. All right.
Can I just share real quick? We got an email from the booster. They got 75 or more kids on track the field night.
Oh, for the soccer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great job.
I'll be honest, I really want to be there. They are winning, it's 1-0 halftime
Okay.
right now. I'm
Get
getting-
real-time updates. I
Oh,
love it.
okay.
We should have a
Talk
live
fast.
stream up or something. Next, we're gonna go to fundraisers. So we have, we approved last month 2 fundraisers, so we got another 2 that are up for consideration this month. The first, and maybe I have some folks from SGA will be able to shed light a little bit on this one. This is a fundraiser where seniors will sign up to be splashed by their peers with either water balloons or a water pitcher. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory.
Where is that going to be? Not indoors, isn't it?
I can say most likely be in the courtyard. I didn't really, this was an interesting one to me, but one of the SGA members was very passionate about it, so I let him handle it.
And I have a passion project. All right, so this is, they anticipate profits of $90, so it's not, they're not.
Not a big.
Doesn't sound like it's gonna happen in his Principal Dawn's office, but we'll find a location for it. So that is.
You can sign up to be splashed.
I got pied last year. I'm not sure that I need that many substances thrown in my face. You're signing me up. I'm being
You're
voluntold.
being
For
voluntold.
pie.
Wait, is this seniors are signing up? I don't know, so students are being splashed or teachers are being splashed?
Students are being splashed, but I think we did talk about the possibility of teachers signing up to be splashed.
Inviting the teachers.
That's always a big,
For an amount of money to pay to splash.
I raised more.
Yeah, that's like, I charge 20.
I could use the extra cash.
Yeah, maybe encourage more to splash the teacher.
I think so. All right, so for this senior class council fundraiser, I'll make a motion then to approve their request.
I will second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That one passes. And then we have one more fundraising request. This is from the Jones swim dive team. It's a swim-a-thon fundraiser. They are anticipating a profit of around $3,000. And that money will go and be deposited into the Jones Booster Club account to support athletics moving forward. Any questions on that one? All right, I'll make a motion then that we approve the swim-a-thon fundraiser for the swim and dive team. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes and our fundraisers have been approved. All right, so next up is old business. We had, I think, come to a place where we had amended the bylaws a couple different times, and we provided people an opportunity to review them and comment on the changes. I think the most substantive change from the last time we met, there was the addition of a parent guardian affairs committee, and thank you to Sarah for drafting up that portion of the bylaws. Lachlan, are there other Any other areas you want to highlight?
No, that was the only material change. We also added in the co-chairing arrangement for the Student Affairs Committee to say that we co-chaired between a student and an LSC member, and the written comments could come in up to noon on the day of an LSC meeting, but those are the only other changes.
That sounds good. Did anybody else have any other comments, questions, concerns about the bylaws? I think we should probably, as a point of adopting some bylaws.
I guess my only question was technical. Are we gonna put the mission statement that we worked on in the bylaws, or is that gonna be something?
I think that'll be something.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be in the bylaws.
All right. So I can move to adopt the bylaws as we have amended them.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right. And any abstentions?
Done when you buy it.
All right. Bylaws have been passed, and I don't know if Lachlan, are you able to kind of put them in pretty
I'll
form?
edit them and tidy them up to get rid of all the stuff I put at the top and make them look nicer.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you for that. Appreciate you working on that. Next up, we have positive recognitions, and I know we've pulled out a lot of good stuff that's happened so far. Is there anything you'd like to add in terms of positive recognition?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if who the right person to recognize for this is, but I'm going to assume it's Mr. Holmes. Thank you for fixing the fourth metal detector that definitely did noticeably move things up.
I wish that I could personally take responsibility for having fixed it, because I wish I could fix those machines. But I did aggravate enough people to get it working.
Yeah, this morning there was definitely a noticeable difference. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else? We'll move forward into new business now, and this one probably will be fairly quick as well. As I talked about at the top of the meeting, during our LSC retreat, we did take some time and draft a vision statement that was sort of a collaborative effort. The one thing we did say while we were there is that it was important to bring it back to the group and not kind of finalize it without other people having the opportunity to review and have a voice, especially our students who were not able to participate in that particular activity. So we did circulate it together with the agenda, and I'm happy to entertain any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, even from people who were there who thought like, oh, maybe there's a better way to say this now, that we've got some time with it.
I think we should probably read it just for the thing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Just so people aren't sitting there, so I can read it. The Jones LSC pledge is to foster a safe, inclusive, holistic, and joyful school experience for all. We will honor everyone's contributions and perspectives to strengthen and empower our community.
I particularly would love to hear what our students think about that, and whether you guys think there should be additions, or whether you see something that you think should go, because your voices are really crucial in crafting this vision.
I mean, I like it personally. I think it's straight to the point and it describes what we're trying to do, which is build a community. So I think it's fine how it is.
yeah, I think it's great as it is.
I agree.
Thank you for your feedback.
It only took us 6 hours to come up with that.
Did a good job.
Thank you.
We did like look at that before, so you guys had seen it before today.
Yeah.
Okay, phew.
Yeah.
And so while we are not required to vote on this necessarily, we had talked about doing a vote on it just to formally adopt it into the group as kind of our ethos moving forward, and we can put it up on the website and kind of market it, moving forward as how we're going to approach the work that we do over the next 2 years here together. So I'll make a motion that we adopt the draft LSC vision statement as our own.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hopefully no abstentions. All right, so that motion is approved as well. Public participation, as always, is welcome and encouraged. If you're listening by any chance, I'm actually listening right now, or if you're watching the recording later, please come out and talk to us. We did not have anybody sign up online for public participation. we did not have anybody sending any comments via the email address that has been out there for Jones LSC or to me personally. So we can move forward unless there's anything else that's coming or to anybody else. So
Just a quick question. Going back, well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I should say good evening. Good evening. I'm Mr. Slater, and I'm the SGA sponsor. And I know it was brought up about the seniors getting probably priority, which sounds good to me. I know if I was a senior, I would want that. I don't know when that decision will be made, or
When the decision for what will be made?
whether or not the seniors will get a priority. Will that be based on the amount of tickets that are left?
and this is for that pool of like outstanding tickets that are
Right,
still out there.
on Monday.
So I asked Troy how many tickets were sold to the seniors on Tuesday, and Troy said that we sold 220 to the seniors on Tuesday, which, based on the allocations that were determined, that leaves 5. I've asked Troy to open up an additional small pool of tickets for the seniors, but it's probably only gonna be an additional 50 tickets, which I think is as fair a compromise as we can strike, given where we are with our ticket sales.
What about?
Well, I was gonna say, I think what I heard them say though is that one of the questions would be if there's like 100 extra freshman tickets, then could you sell those 100 extra freshman tickets
Yes,
to the seniors
yes,
preferentially?
yes. I'm not sure that we're gonna be at that point, which is why I preemptively asked Troy to set aside an addition to increase our capacity if we need to.
But you know what percentage of tickets were sold in freshman sophomore year?
Not
We
yet.
haven't
We
finished
haven't sold them
selling
yet.
this week.
We haven't sold them yet.
We're gonna say
How many seniors do we have? Do we know that number?
4 something.
Okay, I just was wondering how many. So it's about half of
About
them.
half
Might have got
of each
tickets. That's
class,
what we're
yeah.
what we have right now.
$4.99.
Okay, thank you.
And usually, just on my experience and seeing the numbers, usually we have enough tickets for all those who want it.
Okay.
Is there like a waiting list process or what have, like, not really, once we sell, we're done?
That is a good question, because per my knowledge, for these leftover tickets, it is gonna run on a first come, first served basis, which has been interesting in the past. So I think we'll be talking.
Well, and I also know, like, sometimes, I know this happens, right? You sign up for something and then you end up not being able to attend, your family's going out of town, like, so if there was a waiting list that people
Oh, I
could
get
take unused tickets and reallocate them, maybe on a teamer's first pitches, and then what happens?
That's pretty much how I'm allocating. the
That's how,
50
that's where we're,
tickets. Yeah.
that's where we got them already, all right, you're already on.
So, I think did I hear 220? So we're not selling 250 per class?
It was, Troy said it was 225 per class.
And from my understanding, he said that next Monday, for kids who didn't get their tickets this week, each lunch period, there's gonna be 25 tickets available per lunch period.
What was that under?
And on Monday, for the kids who didn't buy the tickets this week, there's gonna be another opportunity to buy tickets, and each lunch period, there'll be 25 tickets available.
For
Oh, so that's how we get the
for all
250.
classes or for just seniors?
I believe, actually, yeah, I think that's for just seniors, I'm not sure.
Well, hold on.
I could be wrong.
Earlier today, one of my boss basically, Sadie, the overall student president, had actually emailed Ms. Dolan and Ms. Dolan and Mr. Kilbrand, thank you. And it kind of seemed like the decision on whether or not seniors would have guaranteed tickets was still up in the air. The response was it could cause unforeseen issues.
Right, so I just messaged Troy
Okay,
and
that's
asked
okay.
him to set aside an extra 50 for the seniors.
I guess my confusion again, sorry for prolonging it. I thought we were always looking at the 1,000 versus 900.
So I didn't set ticket limits, I'm not selling the tickets, I'm reporting out what Troy shared with me. I don't know where there was potentially something lost in translation.
Okay, I can have a conversation with him. It needs to hear.
Okay. He may even still be here after this meeting.
Yeah, because we were trying to work out something else.
I guess I'm so confused though, so when the tickets go on sale on Sunday for the extra ones, are they open to all 4 grades, or are they only gonna be open to seniors for like a couple of weeks?
Usually how it's worked in the past, at least, I don't think it was last year, but I know 2 years before that, there's been a system where each grade did get a set amount of tickets, and it's been, seniors got the most amount, juniors second most, and then it trickled down. But I think it's still a work in progress out there.
Could you do a Google form, just like you did for this one, for all the seniors, where all the seniors who didn't get first dibs, quote unquote dibs, and then whatever's left over at that point, trickle it down to all the younger classmen. And so that way, hopefully you then catch the biggest majority of all your senior kids. And they can put in, like, you'll know by Friday what your total numbers are. Sunday, you say, hey, send out a blast to all the seniors. Guys, if you didn't get tickets, sign up, put your name on the list, and if we have tickets, the people got in there. I don't know, that's what I would do, or something along those lines.
But as was mentioned, it's been where the seniors had a larger amount and it worked out percentages depending upon classes, because it was always, hey, juniors, you have your year next year, okay? Sophomores, you have yours in 2 more years. Freshmen, you have 3 more years. So that's why it was always a larger amount for the seniors. So just to give you a little historical.
Makes sense.
Appreciate the feedback and the follow-up on that. All right. Are there any other matters LSC has? All right. Well, if not, then I will move that we adjourn. We'll be back here on October 9th. So we have a second. All right.
Good job.
We need a gavel, Sam.
I know.
I'll bring you one. I got one upstairs. I'm serious.